Hello, everyone. Welcome to VR Verdict, episode 83. I am PJ, and joining me this week is Gabriel and David, here to talk about the game Paint It Back. How's it going, guys?
Hey, everyone. Nice to meet you.
Good morning.
Hey. We have Dan from Playtest VR in the audience. Hey, Dan. Come
Hello.
on up.
Hello.
Don't be shy.
Hey, guys. Hi.
Hey.
So I've played your game. I'll let you guys do the introduction. It's a very specific game, so I'll let you guys do. I don't want to mess it up.
Well, where should we start? It's kind of complicated to just get it together in a few sentences, but Paint It Back is a post-apocalyptic game, so you are in this world after the end, but it's not really just a typical post-apocalyptic world, because also the colors are gone. So the main mission of the player is to actually get the colors back. But while you are getting the colors back and investigating what really happened to the world, you will find several personal connections and your role in the. So it's also not only just a regular post-apocalyptic adventure, but also kind of a psychological journey, let's say. It's pretty heavily story-based, a lot of dialogues, a few mini games, exploration. So yeah, well, not your typical VR game, I guess.
Yeah, there's definitely a good mix of exploration, dialogue. There's cutscenes, and there's also like quizzes and things going on. How long is
there are
the
a few
actual
mini
story?
games, yeah. David. Sorry, we had some issues hearing the last question. Can you please repeat it?
I was curious, like, how long is the estimated playtime of the actual story?
Well, it really depends on your playstyle, so you can skip the conversations. So in case you skip the conversations and you know exactly what to do, then, well, it can be done pretty quickly, I guess, like in 3 to 4 hours, but, well, you're pretty much losing the game, so I wouldn't really recommend doing that. So if you're properly listening to the story, the conversations, the dialogue, try to explore the world itself, then I think it's well over 10 hours.
Nice. That's quite a lengthy VR game, so that's pretty neat.
Yeah, well, we wanted to tell a proper story, actually. So, and, well, if you want to tell a proper story, then you need all the dialogues and the little details, all those.
Yeah, I haven't finished yet, but I'm a couple hours in, as we were talking before we started recording.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. It's very relaxed, very chill. Like the exploration's really neat. There's always something to find around the corner, type of thing.
Yeah, well, it's definitely more like a laid back, personal adventure kind of thing. So it's not really like Beat Saber. So, well, there are mini games that are kind of intense, but in general, it's more like exploration kind of thing.
Right. I like the quizzes. They definitely keep you on your toes at some points. You have to really be paying attention.
Yeah, we tried to add kind of a lot of mini games to keep the interaction interesting. So
yeah, and I like how they're woven into the story. Like I won't spoil anything, but I came upon an empty bus, and there was a whole story of how the bus got there and the people that were in it. It was really neat. And then the quiz kicked in, and you kind of had to like pay attention. And
yeah, like in the world, you're gonna find all these memory cubes. Well, actually, you can see one on your left, I guess. So these memory cubes, they contain the memories of the people just like right before the apocalypse. So for example, the one that you mentioned, there is a memory cube in the tunnel, and then inside the tunnel you will learn like there was an accident, a fire and stuff like that, and you get the memories out from the memory cube, and you're gonna need to understand and learn this little mini story in order to complete the quiz. But we have like all the other mini games as well, and those are all connected to the world of Painted Back and all the individuals. And I don't want to spoil anything, but later you will also learn that all these individuals are somehow connected to the main character.
Nice. So when you guys, I'm always curious, like when you're thinking of creating this game, like what came first? Is it story? Is it the mechanic of there's no color and you bring the color back? Like where did you start with all this?
It was kind of a mix, really. So we knew that we want to do something like story based, and we wanted to do also something where you can actually fly, since there are not too many VR games where you can fly. But it was kind of hard, so we didn't really want to do just a regular, like, fly in space or planes, even though those can be cool as well. But we wanted to mix the two, actually, and then came the idea that the player should control a drone. And since, well, yeah, in like half of the game you are controlling a drone, in the other half you're controlling so after that, well, we were exploring like what would be the best way to tell a story through the eyes of a drone, and we came up with, well, several ideas, but we also had a lot of like technical limitations things, and we definitely wanted to have some kind of black and white aspect of the game, because I think in VR it looks really cool, and it's also kind of fun when you can see the colors coming back. And then after that, it was kind of obvious that, yeah, we should go with this kind of post-apocalyptic approach. And I had a few mini stories in my mind at that time, so we kind of got all those together and tried to connect them and make a whole and make a hopefully intriguing story in the. So it was really more like a process. It wasn't really like that, okay, we decided then, yeah, let's do this, let's do that. But more like we had the pieces and then we put the pieces together.
Nice. It's always interesting how organically things come together sometimes like that.
Yeah, well, we had the pitch for also, well, we had to submit it for Facebook, so that was the time when we got everything together, and well, they accepted the pitch, so maybe it wasn't that bad. And well, of course, at the time, we had a lot of cool ideas. For example, we made a whole like kind of living, breathing sci-fi city as well. But for example, we had to cut a lot of things as well. So, for example, that sci-fi city, I know it's sad, but it's gone simply because of technical limitations. So we just couldn't make it run on the. So finally, we decided to cut those pieces as well. So it's really like actually it was more like putting a puzzle together than having one super detailed and set storyline or gameplay.
Is this your guys' first game that you've made, or have you done other work?
We've done a few like mobile games. Well, for example, we made a mobile game where you can like explore Tokyo in 3D, like a Pokemon Go style if you are in Tokyo. But you know, we wanted to make it for the Olympics actually, but well, things didn't go too well. So yeah, we made a few games and well, apps, but only for mobile, and those were not really like story based. So I wouldn't really say that those were typical games. But so yeah, this is our like first, let's say, real game.
I was just curious if, since you worked in mobile, was it easy to program and develop for the Quest, or do you guys find it kind of limiting and kind of frustrating when, you know, PC VR is kind of right here, but the Quest is what's hot? So.
Well, it is pretty challenging to make anything good looking on the Quest. So I would say, like, with all those modern, recent mobile devices, it's definitely easy to do.
I must have missed that last part. What was that?
Sorry, I just said that with all the like modern mobile devices, like the newer iPhones or Android devices, it's definitely easier to develop for mobile than to. So well, not to mention testing and things like that. So well, on mobile, if you are just using the Unity editor and profiler, you're gonna have a pretty clear picture how it's going to perform on the device itself. But with the Quest, you never know. So
Sure.
you really need to test everything twice. So and well, you also have other issues. You know, some shaders are not working in VR. Do textures, so there are a lot of aspects that you need to be careful of. Most of those aspects are actually not that significant when you are just developing a regular mobile game. So, well, overall, I would say definitely it's easier to develop for mobile.
And you do have the game on Steam VR, correct?
No, we don't have it
okay.
yet, but we are planning to make it. So.
Okay, I was curious. I didn't know if it was out yet or not. But,
well, first of all, our main goal is to get it on the Oculus Store. And once it's on the store, then we would like to port it, to PC as well. Just
and then
since everything right now is designed for the Quest, I think we'll have to make a lot of modifications, especially like upgrading the graphics. Since, well, this low poly style, personally, I really like it. But if you compare it to like the AAA, well, of course, we are not going to reach AAA level, I guess. But if you're comparing it to the better looking PC VR games, then still you can feel the difference. So if you want to put it on Steam, then I think we really need to improve a lot on the visuals. So it will take a bit of time.
Do you have a timetable from once it hits like the Oculus Store for Quest? Like how long
I think
to the Steam?
once we get it on the store, let's hope we will do, then it will take about like half a year after that. But God knows when it's going to be on the store. So it all depends on that. Now, right now, our main focus is to get it on the store. And, you know, we are a super small team, like 4 to 5 members. So we need to concentrate on one task at the time. So
Sure. So I was curious, as you're waiting, like if you submit it to the store and you're waiting, do you kind of just keep working on updates, or what do you
actually, we are working together with Facebook right now. So we submitted one build to the store, but they said that we need to make certain improvements, and we are working together with them on those improvements. So kind of a lot will change, actually, if things are going well. So we added already new physics for the flying mechanism, so it feels more like a drone actually floating and things like that. We are improving a lot on the visuals, and well, even the story will change quite a bit. And well, we are making all those improvements together with Facebook right now. So it's not really like just a regular process like on the App Store, let's say, that you submit your game, they will test it. If it works, then you are pretty much good to go. It's more complicated than that. And well, we are trying to make all these improvements, and then we will see finally
Sure.
they like it.
I've heard them like make suggestions and ask like for like comfort level things, but I've never heard them like change story or ask you to do anything like that.
Well, they are not explicitly saying to change the story, but let's say they have suggestions, and actually some of those suggestions are good. So then why not try to make them? So well, they are, of course, when you just want to get your game on the store, you are not very happy when they have all those very cool suggestions. But after all, when you think about it, if it will improve the overall quality of your game, then well, I think it's beneficial for maybe both of us, both for Facebook, well, they get good quality games on their store, and for us as well. Well, we try to do as much.
So, do you guys? I'm sure I know you're very focused on that right now, but do you have plans for like next projects or like continuation of Paint It Back, or?
Actually, after finishing Paint It Back, we would love to do something again, like something a bit different with all the experiences and well, all the stuff that we learned in mind. So. Well, we don't really have anything exact yet, but we would definitely try to do something of a story-based multiplayer kind of stuff maybe in the future. That would be pretty cool, I think. So, as I said, nothing exact yet, but maybe something multi and a bit of a story. I would personally love to have motorbikes in the next game, actually. Controlling motorbikes in VR is pretty cool. So something with motorbikes, story, and multiplayer would be a thing that I would like to make, yeah. Personally, but I don't know about you, David. Like, do you have any favorites?
I think like anything that uses, I guess like the immersion in VR, whether it's like flying or you can swing from ropes or you can throw a ball and it'll color a certain area, like those kind of things I would prefer. But yeah, there's nothing really concrete that I would want to do.
Playing Road Rash in VR and kicking my brother off a motorcycle does sound pretty cool.
Well, and also, I must admit, this kind of Beat Saber games, these rhythm-based games, are working very well. So if we could also add that to the mix, that would be something pretty interesting, I think.
Dan, since you're in the audience, have you played Paint It Back?
No, I haven't. Is it on the store at all, or?
Right now, it's on SideQuest. So we also have a free demo. It's like the first section of the game. And well, we have the full game on SideQuest as well.
I see. I'll check it out after this. Yeah, I was unaware of it, but it looks very, very cool. It's very different to most games that I've seen, actually.
Yeah,
but we tried to make it pretty different. So that was one of the main goals, to make it very different. So
I was going to ask you actually, what inspired you to make this? Was there like certain games on the VR or on the Xbox or something, or was it a different art style that you've seen in different media that really inspired you to go this route?
Actually, nothing exact, really. So, well,
So nothing.
maybe it sounds kind of strange, but really, I don't think there was an exact style or exact game that inspired us. It's more like we knew that we want to do something black and white. Well, after this kind of mix of American and a bit of like Japanese comic style was kind of the obvious choice. So we wanted to like well, you know, if you are having black and white colors, then red and blue kind of comes nicely together, right? So we chose the palette. So basically it was black and white, red and blue as the main colors. And then when we had the palette ready, after that it was just well, matter of design choices to go with the low poly style and also the strong outlines, since these features or these design elements work well in VR and also can help you to hide the not so beautiful parts of the game to be. So it's also a very performance-wise decision as well. So
But I think you having said like nothing really inspired it. It just shows, you know, how creative you actually are. And I always thought like the constraints of the headset, amongst other things, kind of brings out creativity a little bit more when you're working on stuff. I don't know, you know, that's just me from a gamer's perspective talking. It might be different from a dev's perspective.
Oh,
but
well, first of all, thank you if you think that we are creative. So that's a very nice thing to hear, actually. So, yeah, well, of course, you know, like we looked around, of course, like what we have, but also when we started to develop, it was more like what, a year and a half ago when we started it. And actually, at the time, there were not as many games out on the Quest yet. So, well, of course, we had the big titles like Beat Saber or Super Hot. Actually, well, Super Hot, I love also the design of Super Hot. Personally, I prefer this kind of stylized, simple looks sometimes, especially in VR. But we didn't have too many choices, actually. So we had to kind of improvise and something what we like and run on the Quest. And then it was kind of an obvious decision to go with this black and white, strong outlines.
Yeah. Do you find it, since it is quite a different game, would you say maybe it's harder to market or to share?
I think it's pretty hard, yeah. So actually, if you if you want to sell the game, I don't really recommend you doing this kind of stuff. Honestly. So if profit is your number one goal, then maybe do something else, really. if I can be honest. But also, well, you know, we also didn't really want to do something that is very similar to the other games. Even if, like, financially, it may have been more beneficial. But I think once we can reach our market, but in order to reach our market, for us, it's really just a necessity to get it on the store. So, and if we can reach our little niche market, then I think even financially, well, it can pay off. So it's sometimes better to shoot at a very specific market than just going with the flow and the mainstream. So, well, hopefully, once we get it on this, we
again,
will be able to find our market.
As a gamer, I'm like, yeah, do the really original thing, but like you said, doesn't always pay the bills.
Not really. So yeah, you also have to keep that in mind. But
yeah.
Well, I think things will change, hopefully dramatically, if we can get it on the store. Like we talked with other developers as well, and that's when you are on the store, that's really a turn point.
Sure.
So yeah, well, we will see. Hopefully, it will reach its audience, and we are going to be pretty much satisfied with it.
I think it's also because like we didn't, although or yeah, because we're kind of a small team, we didn't have like everyone working on the marketing while we were developing, which is like when we went to the Spatial Ape and we found out like all these other indie developers, like what they were doing for marketing while creating the game. Like we probably should have done that a little more, but yeah, I guess.
Yeah, you know, when you are working like 14 hours on the game, then you don't really have time for marketing. That's the thing, sadly. But I'm pretty sure if we had a proper marketing team, we could have reached better results already. But since we don't, right now we are trying to reach people who would actually enjoy it.
Yeah, and I'd say anyone that just likes exploration or just a nice, relaxed game to play, you know, and get lost in, it's a perfect title for that. Because,
yeah, also
like
if you like this kind of end of the world kind of stories, also well, the psychological part, let's say, then yeah, I think it's really for you.
it's like I said, I'm 3 hours in, and that 3 hours went by like quick. And I was like, oh crap! Like,
wow, that's cool.
So maybe sounds like I'm maybe a third of the way through the game, so I got to get back in there and finish.
I think so. Yeah. Well, actually, I don't want to spoil things, but later on, you will be able to control human being as well. So it's like the second part of the game.
So we have couple of we talked about the memory. What was he? A memory keeper?
Memory cube.
Memory cube. What's the little white guy over here on the side? What's he all
about? Okay. So these guys are called memory eaters. So, well, also I don't really want to spoil too much from the story, but while we have the memory cubes, we also have other little robots who are eating the memories. So, well, they need memory cubes in order to feed themselves. So there is a little society among the memory guys as well. And well, as I said, I don't want to spoil too much, but you will learn that there is a certain connection between the memory cubes and the memory eaters later.
Nice.
It's kind of logical, I think, that why the memory.
So as you mentioned, you know, when you work in VR so much, and what I hear from a lot of devs is you don't really play other games or games at all anymore. You're working. Is that true for you guys as well?
Well, I try to buy all the games or most of the games on the Oculus Store and at least play a good like 20-30 minutes to see what other guys do. And there are some pretty cool ones, really. Well, of course, you know, the titles developed by bigger studios, especially the Oculus team, those are exceptionally good. Like, personally, I really love the Lies Beneath. I think it looks beautiful and plays very well. And actually, it's pretty much the kind of game that I personally like. This kind of, well, I wouldn't say it's very similar to Painted Bag, but at least the story-heavy aspects are similar. I'm not really a multiplayer guy, to be honest. I'm more like story focused. I love very typical, like, you know, story heavy games like, I don't know, Metal Gear Solid, Final Fantasy, things like that. So for me, it's more like the story based games that are intriguing. So yeah, like for example, Lies Beneath. Also, I really enjoyed Super Hot, also for its visual aspects. Actually, we kind of learned a lot from Super Hot, I think. You know, sometimes less is a bit Their visual style is very clean and very minimal, but still it looks so cool in VR. So if you were asking for inspiration before, maybe I can mention, I like the style of Superhot, inspired us. Well, they are going with more like this white and red color palette, but still the way they use these minimal colors and minimal models is just super beautiful, I think. Well, just like yesterday, I bought that First World War, like I'm sorry, I'm also pretty bad with the names. Yeah, Warplane. Sorry, well, it was even kind of obvious. So actually, we wanted to check how other developers manage to have the player inside of a machine, like cockpit and things. And I have to say they do it extremely well. So we are also learning from them. Well, hopefully we will be able to learn at least. So yeah, we are obviously checking.
Nice.
Also on side quest, like we played kind of a lot of Gorilla Tag. So that's a cool one. I really like it. Even though, as I said, I'm not the multi kind of guy, but well, if I can control gorillas, that's a different story. So yeah, we are checking. We're trying to check at least everything that looks even just a bit interesting. Of course, we also checked the Unity Cube. That was cool.
Yeah,
I think for like style wise, me personally, I was looking at like that game. I think it's called like Jupiter Grad or something.
Yep.
Like they have the very stylized looking, kind of like thick outline and whatnot. So like we were trying to go for something like that when we are like placing certain kind of like elements in the scene. I think that and maybe like Swarm.
But Jupiter Grad came out like a year after we started developing it. So, as an inspiration, it's kind of hard to say that they were the main source for inspiration, but definitely more like the way they use outlines. That's really nice. Right, honestly. Sorry, hopefully they are not going to be upset, but
oh no,
we tried to copy their style a bit regarding the outlines.
Before I played your game, a couple of the screenshots, Jupiter Grad was the first thing I thought of because the hands are kind of not hands, but your hand representation is kind of similar, except for they have ropes coming out of theirs, but you're flying around, so.
So yeah, if I can just summarize it, yeah, we are definitely looking at most of the titles and try to learn as much as we can or grab some cool ideas.
I don't know if you guys do this or Dan, if you've had this happen. There's once every couple months I'll just sit on like side quests and just grab like 50 games and just play them all. Like, go down a rabbit hole for a day.
Yeah, well, of course, especially like side quests, like many of the titles and most of the titles are actually free as well, so there is no risk. So yeah, we try all those games, or at least most of them, and there are some like really amazing stuff, like even done by just solo developers. That's really crazy. That's how far an individual can go nowadays, really.
Yeah, again, like I say this a lot, but the smaller dev teams and the single-man dev teams always just amaze the crap out of me because it's so much work. I can't even imagine like how your day even goes and how you keep going some days.
Well, especially like Painted Back is really dialogue heavy. So, personally, I wrote the script, and I think in the end it was like well over 100 pages, like in Word or something. I don't really remember the character count and stuff, but yeah, it was already more like a book actually when I realized that we are at the end of the story. And then came the realization that we have to translate it to Japanese. So at that moment, I was about to seriously considering jumping out the window when it came out that we will have to translate that to Japanese, and well, we did it in-house as well. So translating all this stuff to Japanese was also pretty much like a nightmare, honestly.
Yeah. So you guys are currently in Tokyo, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And what's the market for VR like over there? Like, is the game available on any headsets over there, or?
Oh well, it's all in Japan. Side quest is not that well known, I think. So especially if you wanna reach the Japanese market, then I think the only way is to go to, for the Oculus Store. But regarding the VR scene in Japan, it's kind of very different from the West, I feel. Most of the very popular games are very, well, Japan specific, let's say.
Sure.
But what do we have? Hatsune Miku and stuff.
Sounds very similar to like traditional gaming, where it's very specific, and a lot of it we don't even see.
But we have most of the popular titles are either like visual novels. Some of them are translated to English as well, like maybe Tokyo Chronos, I think. And the other ones are a lot of these like kind of virtual YouTubers kind of thing. So the typical Japanese like niche market. And also, well, rhythm games, things like that. But I feel like story-based games are not really on the top of the list right now. And well, you can see also what most of the Japanese developers are doing are also, I think, very Japan-specific most of the time. Like at least in case of regular games, you still have those Japanese games that are also made for the Western audience as well. Like I said, like I don't know, like Metal Gear or well, all the famous big Japanese hit titles. But maybe in case of VR, it's even more specific. But it seems at least the popular like Western titles are also popular in Japan. Like Beat Saber is popular here.
Interesting.
But the Japanese market is very, very, very specific. So I feel also that well, in case of story-based games, you have a lot of these visual novels that Japanese love, and personally, I don't really feel the benefit playing those like kind of 2D based games in VR, but there is definitely a market for that. So if we are talking about story heavy Japanese games in VR, it's more like really the visual novel stuff.
Have you played any of these visual novel kind of things, or anything like that?
I'm trying to think of the names of them. Some of the earlier on stuff, when VR was newer, there was a couple. They were actually more of a thing. It seems like I know there's a few that do come out yet, but I can't think of the name to save my life.
Well, I think this Tokyo Chronos is the most well known, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I think that
if you are really into stories, these can be very cool too. So
yeah, there was one with a demo, and I played the demo 3 or 4 times trying to decide if I would actually, because it was saying it was like 40 hours, and I was trying to judge if I would get through the whole thing or not, and I must have moved on to something else. But it was really neat because
sorry.
I was gonna say it was really neat. Like the story unfolds in front of you, and it's more of almost like a show instead of an interactive anything. But
yeah, well, of course these can be cool, but I think there is also another aspect. Maybe it's just a personal thing, but I don't really like to read in VR. I think it's kind of tiring for the eyes to read. And imagine in case of Japanese with the kanjis, it's even more tiring, at least for my eyes. So if you are planning to add Japanese subtitles, for example, for your game, you're gonna run into a lot of technical issues as well. But well, let's forget about these. But you just need to be very careful with the design that these kanjis need to be readable, actually. So in case of, well, typical like games in English or basically any European languages, you don't really have to be careful that much, at least, with the design of your fonts and things like that. In case of Japanese or Chinese, it's pretty much the same. I guess maybe Korean, but Japanese and Chinese definitely have to be very design and the set that you are using.
It's interesting that you say reading in VR, because maybe when I did, because I'm pretty sure it was Tokyo Chronos I played the demo of, and you know, when I watch anime, I always have subtitles because I'm old school and I like the Japanese voices. I did the same thing in there, and maybe that's why I didn't continue on with it, because maybe it was just kind of fatiguing to my eyes, now that you mentioned that.
Yeah, I think it's definitely possible. That was also a huge challenge for us, since, as I said, we are a very small team with a very limited budget, to be honest, to what to do with the voices. Because, well, we have the option as the subtitles to turn those on or off and things like that. But we didn't want to go with this just static noises for the robots and things like that. Have some kind of voice acting. But, well, we didn't really have the budget, honestly, to have proper actors. So we decided, since, well, though, it's also not really a spoiler, as you will see it in the very beginning of the game, the only, well, let's say, person who is talking isn't. So we decided to go with this computer, since, well, the main source of information in the game is also an AI. We found that it could actually fit the style. So yeah, we finally decided to go in that direction. But I think in case of VR games, especially if you have a lot of dialogues, kind of really necessary to have some kind of a voiceover, because I don't think many people wanna read hours and hours in VR.
Yeah, I don't even like it in like flat gaming. I always turn subtitles off. I just want to hear it and be part of it, and not read it unless I have to.
So yeah, well, actually, our goal would be to have something like in Portal, like the voice acting over there. It was just amazing. So, well, if Painted Back will sell pretty well, then Painted Back 2 will have proper voice actors. But actually, I think you can, right nowadays, you can reach that. Of course, it's never going to be as good as a real human actor, but you can reach like pretty much acceptable results even with this computer-generated audio, especially in case your characters are non-human, robots or AI or whatever.
That's a good point.
So, well, if you are asking like how did we get the concept together, that was a part also that we knew that we are not really going to have the budget for voice actors. So it was also kind of obvious that, yeah, we're going to have to go with an AI or robots or something like that. So, well, that's how you put together your story when you are limited by budget and technology.
Make it work. Creatively put it together.
Somehow make it work. Yeah, that's the main thing.
Any questions from the audience, Dan?
Yeah, I do actually. What is this game like compared to the original concept you had? Like, because of the limitations of the quest, did you have to change a whole lot, or were you already aware of them, so you already kind of baked them in the initial concept?
We had to change kind of a lot. Well, not really the story itself, let's say, but more like the visuals. So we were planning, for example, animals, to have animals in the game. That the original idea was that when you, for example, recolor the forest, as you can see in the trailer, then not only colors, but for example, life as well would return.
Right.
Like things like that. But well, now what left of the animals is butterfly particle. So technically we still have animals in the game. But yeah, we had plans like that. Or as I mentioned, we were planning to add a full like sci-fi city with a kind of communist setting. That was pretty cool, I think, but we had to cut that because we just couldn't, no matter what we did, we just couldn't go over like 45. Or like it was already just a bunch of blocks, but still, it didn't really look the way we wanted it to look. So finally, we decided that okay, if it doesn't look the way we wanted, then it's better not to have it at all.
So is it just on a visual? Is it just on a visual standpoint where you had those limitations, or did the gameplay or game mechanics also need to change?
Yes. So actually, for example, the recoloring. The original idea was that, well, in some way you would be able to recolor things in real time. But well, that wasn't really feasible in the end. So now we chose a different approach. I think it works also pretty well, and we could integrate it into the story as well. But the original idea was that the drone is going to shoot like kind of paint all over the land, and that's how the recoloring would be done. But well, that really wasn't feasible at all. So well, there are different techniques to do that, but I think we tried really all of them. But especially in the open world areas, like the bigger areas, like the forest or the city later on, and it was just impossible. So we had to change the mechanics as well.
Right. And then with the PC version in the future, do you think you'll go more towards your original concept, or do you think you'll keep it the same as the Quest version, just with
Actually,
upgraded
I think
visuals?
the gameplay-wise, we are going to keep it, since now all the decisions that we made are also influencing the story and all the systems. So now if we just change it back to the original concept, even though like technically on the PC that would be pretty much doable, well, that would change the whole game and change a lot of the story as well. So wise, we're gonna keep it more or less the same as it is now, but like visually, improve a lot.
Yeah, I see. And is this game like tailored more towards the Japanese market, or did you try and kind of
Not
tailor
at all.
it to both?
Not at all.
No.
No.
Okay.
No. It's more like tailored for the Western audiences, I think.
Right.
Well, of course, you know, like we have Japanese as an option for the subtitles, so hopefully some Japanese folks will play it as well. But the general direction of the story and the gameplay and well, the whole game is more like for the Western audience. So don't really expect cute anime girls and things. I mean, maybe it's a bad news, but no, we don't really have those or any kind of anime kind of thing. So it's pretty much if you take it seriously, then the story is I think it's kind of sad. So it's well, of course you have the several layers of the story. We have this end of the world kind of thing. We have your relationship to the over there. We try to make your relationship to the AI kind of unique as well. And then you have this personal story. As I said, I don't really want to spoil things, but it's a personal tragedy that affects the whole world in the end. So you have this kind of 3 layers of the story. And if you put it all together, and hopefully at the end of the game, you will get the whole picture. I think it's a pretty sad one, actually.
Yeah, I've run into
I'm
a few
excited.
sadder moments.
I like sad games, you know.
Yeah, it's
Earlier,
definitely well,
PJ
you know,
was
it's
saying
black
it's
and white,
relaxing.
so obviously it's kind of melancholic as well. So.
It's both relaxing and sad, I guess. I don't.
No, I'm excited to play it because I think in the VR market right now, there's not enough story-based games. I think there's a lot,
Exactly.
like you mentioned earlier, in terms of there was a lot of good rhythm games, there's a lot of good shooting games, but actually story-driven games. I could probably name like a few, but there's not really that many. Except
not
from
that
if you go,
many.
no, and then especially you can go extreme with like one of the VR films per se, like Wolves on the Walls or something like that, or you can go like Deus, Tokyo Chronicles, but there's not many actual just standard story games out there. So, I mean, the fact that you made a 100-page script excites me, to be honest.
But I think you know it's very easy when you start developing to VR that you find a cool thing, whatever, one function and you're gonna be really focused on that, and then you make your whole game based on that certain function that you found really interesting. So, for example, that's what we wanted to avoid. So, we had the flying stuff, but we were like 100% sure that we don't want to build the whole game on one of these mechanics. But it's very easy to get sidetracked, you know, like once you have these cool things in VR that you know that you can do this, that you know, okay, I can fly my warplanes, I can fly this, I can fly that, I can do this, I can do that, then it's really easy, as I said, to get sidetracked and then forget about the story, forget about the rest of the game, and then just focus on this one certain element. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing necessarily, because you can make super cool stuff. Like I think maybe Superhot was made kind of this way, that they found this really cool mechanics, and then they built the game around that certain mechanics. But we didn't really want to do that. So I think, especially in VR, of course, it's in case of like regular games as well. When you make something really cool, you want to show it to people. You want to put it everywhere in your game. But maybe sometimes it's a bit too much. So we try to keep the balance between the mechanics that we have and the regular like story and the regular game aspects.
I've always been curious. So, like when you say you cut out like the futuristic city and a couple other things, do you kind of save those and think maybe for the sequel we can work them in, or is that kind of stuff you just scrap it and don't think about it?
I know, of course, we keep it. So it's not like we have enough space, thanks to God, at least in the cloud. So we keep it. So. Maybe in the future, if things are going well, either as let's say DLC or even as free content, it's not really like gonna get rich from selling the communist cities. So
just in case like the Quest 2 Pro comes out and you're like, hey, we can finally throw this in there because it'll work.
Right, well, right now it doesn't really matter if the Quest 2 Pro or the Quest 3 or whatever Quest comes out, as long as you have to put your game on the Quest 1 as well. So
True.
It won't change much. That's the thing, that right now, if you want to put your game on the store, then it needs to run 72 FPS at least on the Quest 1 as well. If Facebook in the future would change this policy, then I think it would open up not only for us but for other developers as well a lot of opportunity.
That's a really interesting thought. I actually didn't know that was a policy, because maybe it will change now that with Resident Evil coming out in the fall, that's only for Quest 2. They might change that for the future.
I think right now it's only for Resident Evil as well. So
Right.
you don't have this
Right.
option. So we cannot say to Facebook that, okay, it's pretty cool, but we want your game only on the Quest 2. It's not possible right now.
Yeah, that's bad. That's not very good actually, because then you have to go for that Quest 1. That's like what's holding it all up in a way.
It is. Especially like, well, we are going into the technical details, but the biggest issue with the Quest 1 is, well, actually the RAM. There's not much memory to.
So do you think you can run that on the Quest 2 no problem? Like the sci-fi stuff?
Of course, we have to optimize it further.
Yeah.
But on the Quest 2, I think it's definitely possible. But on the Quest 1, well, at least for us, it's impossible. Maybe there are more talented, better developers that could make it work, but we decided not to go into that direction, to spend maybe a whole year or whatever just to get one stage done. Maybe it can be done, but yeah, definitely for the Quest 2, I think with a bit of work, we could make it run.
Well, before we end the episode, is there anything you guys want to stress or share with anyone listening or watching? Like anything we didn't talk about or get to, or?
Actually, I think we don't really have anything like super specific to say. Just in general, we have a demo as well. The game, even the full game, is just like $10, so it's not that expensive. So if you like story-based games, or if you find this visual or art style interesting, then well, just give it a go. And if you don't like it, we'll refund you or whatever. But at least give it a go.
Yeah, and anyone listening or watching, I'll have the links to in the show notes and whatnot for the demo and the full game and all that. So all you gotta do is look down and click. Make it easy.
And well, actually, either as a review or you can just message us, Twitter, whatever. Anything is really okay. Even an email is fine. If you have any impressions or suggestions or basically really anything, let it be super positive, super negative. Super negative things are very welcome as well. Just it would help us a lot if you would share your opinion with us. So, really, so
feedback is always good.
Yeah. Our biggest issue, I think, right now is to reach people. Actually, to have audience, to have some kind of a let's say fan base, or at least people that are playing the game, they do complete it, so they have any kind of information about certain aspects of the game, how people like this part, how people like the other part, or maybe they hate the whole thing. That's also fine, but we need to know it. So
sure.
If you have any kind of feedback, that's really appreciated.
Awesome. Well, guys, I thank you for your time and joining us and sharing your game. Again, for those listening, the game is Paying It Back, available on SideQuest itch if you want that route. Hopefully coming to the Oculus store soon.
Yeah.
But again, links are in the show notes. But Dave and Gabriel, thanks again for your time.
Thanks,
Dan
a lot.
from Playtest VR, thanks for joining the audience.
Thank you.
Thank you as well. Yeah.
I just want to remind everyone we're recording this live in VR from Spatial Ape, and you can join our audience or the conversation at any time. Just message us.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
And I guess that's it. So
Well, thanks,
have
guys.
fun.
That was
Thank you.